Genesis 37, Joseph and his dreams. Hello, welcome to the Holy Book, Narration Bible. Today we will follow Genesis 37, where we learn about the story of Joseph, the son of Jacob, and how his prophetic dreams stirred jealousy among his brothers. Get ready for an emotional narrative filled with lessons about faith, family, and God's plans. Jacob lived in the land of Canaan, where his father had resided. Joseph, only 17 years old, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's wives. Joseph would report to Jacob about his brother's bad behavior. Israel, also known as Jacob, loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he was born in his old age. To show his love, Jacob gave Joseph a long, colorful robe, which stirred jealousy among his brothers. They began to hate Joseph and could not speak to him kindly. One day, Joseph had a dream and told it to his brothers, which increased their hatred even more. Joseph said, "Listen to the dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain in the field, and suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers mocked him and said, "Do you think you will reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And their hatred toward Joseph intensified because of his dream and his words. Soon after, Joseph had another dream and again told it to his brothers. He said, "I had another dream, and this time the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." This time, even Jacob rebuked him, saying, "What is this dream you had? Will I, your mother, and your brothers actually bow down to the ground before you?" Despite the rebuke, Jacob reflected on Joseph's words, while his brothers grew increasingly envious. One day, Joseph's brothers were grazing their father's flocks near Shechem. Jacob sent Joseph to check on them. When his brothers saw Joseph coming from a distance, they plotted to kill him. They said to each other, "Here comes that dreamer. Let's kill him and throw him into one of these pits. We'll say a wild animal devoured him, and then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." Reuben, however, tried to save Joseph by suggesting they not kill him, but instead throw him into the pit, intending to rescue him later. So when Joseph arrived, they stripped him of his colorful robe and threw him into a dry pit with no water. As they sat down to eat, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, carrying spices, balm, and myrrh on their way to Egypt. Judah then proposed, "What profit will we gain if we kill our brother? Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites instead, for he is our relative." The brothers agreed and sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver. The merchants took Joseph to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the pit and saw that Joseph was gone, he tore his clothes in despair. Upon informing his brothers, they took Joseph's robe, soaked it in goat's blood, and presented it to Jacob. Jacob recognized the robe and, overwhelmed with grief, cried out, "Surely my son has been torn to pieces by a wild animal." He mourned deeply and refused to be comforted, saying he would grieve for his son until he joined him in the grave. Meanwhile, Joseph was taken to Egypt and sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and the captain of the guard. This story teaches us that even when we face injustice and betrayal, God is working behind the scenes to fulfill his plans. Joseph was rejected and sold by his own brothers, but God had a greater purpose for his life. If this message touched your heart, like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next episodes of the Narrated Bible. Share this powerful story with someone who needs to trust God's plans even in times of hardship. In the next episode, we will see how Joseph faces new challenges in Egypt and how God continues to guide his journey. Don't miss it.